Hey, welcome to Spiritual Direction and Soul Care's Sunday Live. Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. So glad that you're with us watching either on the broadcast or the replay. I hope you are doing great today as we go into this holiday weekend. Happy Halloween tomorrow, All Hallows Eve. It's going to be great. We did some pumpkin carving today with the girls, which was a lot of fun. And we're getting ready. We're getting ready for trick-or-treating and all the good things. Today we're roasting pumpkin seeds after carving pumpkins. So the kitchen is smelling amazing today. Tell me how you're doing. Tell me what you're doing. How are you spending the holiday? They say Halloween is one of the biggest holidays for even adults in the United States. So that's pretty fascinating to me always. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know where you're watching from. Put it in the comments and the chat, and tell me what's going on. We are continuing our journey through Holy Humanity, discovering the 10 dimensions of the human soul. We're really talking about 10 different kinds of experiences, 10 different experiences that shape spirituality, the human journey, that kind of rise out of our core and between us with people in different situations, all of that. And so we first looked at the idea, the most basic spiritual experience, which is longing, which is kind of the most basic human, it's the baseline spiritual experience for people is longing. It's kind of the fuel for all the other parts of where our holy humanity is built from. We have this kind of sense of desire for something else, for something more in life. And we experience that longing in every part of ourselves. I mean, even at the level of our biology, we see longing. The drive of life itself is really longing. We see it in our thirst for water and food and sleep and so on. But as soon as we move from understanding and really assessing and experiencing our desires, and we move from that into action, into pursuing an answer to the longing, an answer to those desires, then we're engaged in the spiritual experience of looking. And this is really the second part of our discovery, of our exploration of looking. You can look at, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the prior session on looking, that we did kind of an overview about looking. But today we're looking at part 2 of the second dimension of looking. So our looking, the drive to take hold of what we think we're longing for, right? Our looking pushes us out into the world. It pushes us out toward others. It pushes us into our work and vocation. It pushes us into play and creativity. It can help inspire all the things that we attempt to build and organize and so on. So our looking is really the bread and butter of our drive to make meaning, right? To express our values, to generate and sustain a sense of self, to find partners in those efforts along the way. And do you see what I did there? Each week, we're once again signaling how these experiences illuminate or express the 4 key dimensions of human spirituality that appear here, right? The 4 parts of human spirituality appear in every single dimension, right? And those parts of spirituality are our search for meaning, our search for connection with something bigger and outside of ourselves, the work to express our values, the way those things work together to give us a sense of who we are and place, right? These 4 elements, right, intersecting together, that is human spirituality. where our sense of meaning, our sense of connection, transcendence, the way our values get expressed, our psychosocial identity, where those four things converge, that is human spirituality. And then there's these 10 dimensions of that, right? There's these 10 experiences that all express or have these four things bubbling up through them all the time. So you'll hear me talking about this every time we get together, right? So when I first talked about looking, I talked about our tendency to look in places that we already know, to stick with what's familiar in our life journey, to go to the places or drink from the wells that we were told were the right wells or the acceptable wells or the only wells or the obvious wells that we get sustained spiritually. I also talked about how oftentimes religion or religious leaders or religious communities as a whole will try to limit where you can look. They'll try to define what is acceptable for your meaning, the approved meaning that you make in the world, or your values, or your identity, or where it's right to get a sense of connection. But this can't really be prescribed precisely because every person is different. And so we talked about the problem last time we met, with how people try to like close down, corral, define, and control things that can't be closed down, defined, and controlled because every person is different, right? So we are formed through life, right? It was famously said, it's not a question of if there is spiritual formation happening in you and around you and to you, but by who, and by what. It's not ever a question of if we'll be formed, it's a question of by what we will be formed or who will be formed, right? So we are formed, but it's not on an assembly line. And so last week we talked about how like religion a lot of times tries to create it uniform, right? For the sake of control. Religious and even woo-woo spiritual places need to kind of take care to acknowledge and honor the infinite variety of humans, and thus the infinite variety and combinations of the ways that they are navigating meaning and connection and values and a sense of identity. There's an infinite variety of ways that we're all experiencing our holy humanity, these 10 different experiences of what we are. It's an infinite variety, right? So religion and spirituality need to honor that infinite variety and not privilege only one way of thinking, privilege or elevate one way of being or believing or acting, right? So religion that heals will respect the deeply personal nature of our spirituality. Religion that heals will delight in our holy humanity, not start with a negative view of the human self. Being realistic about who we are, our limits, our faults, is not being negative, but too much religion is negative. And too many people I see online right now lately trying to sneak that back in, right? With a fundamental view of humans that is fundamentally dark, despairing. Religion that heals doesn't do that. It respects the deeply personal nature of our spiritual journeys. It delights in our humanity. It sees differences and that infinite variety as strength, not threat. Okay. So as you hear this, I wonder, has your experience of religion and spirituality or religion or spirituality been like this? Has your religion or your spiritual practices or your spiritual community been a place that directs you and corrals you and controls your searching, your looking? Or has it empowered you to fully discover your deepest self? Help you discover your deepest self, not tell you who your deepest self is, but open up possibilities, right? Like I was talking with a friend this week, and we were talking about how tired we are of approaches to theology and philosophy that say, because of this, therefore it always has to be this way. Because of X, humans always have to do Y. And it's even that posture of like looking for a way to close down and control is what is the problem. Instead of saying, well, if we ascribe to this belief, it opens up the possibility of, right? Even that choice of language is about empowering people, honoring the variety of difference as they look, right? So I have three things that I want to talk about, three ways to look, three things that looking can do for us, can shape us, how it can form us, okay? How the experience of spiritual looking, of looking through life for our deepest longings and desires, how it can form us, okay? So to fully experience, you ready? You ready for this? So I'm really excited about this. Okay. How does looking form us, right? Because we're talking about formation. What does it do? What does it look like on the ground, right? So to fully experience the healing and transformation that can come through the experience of looking, means first we learn about how to trust the ordinary. Trust the ordinary. We can go to the mountaintops. We can delight in the familiar. There's a place for the familiar, right? We can even receive benefit from the religious and spiritual practices that we respond to or choose to connect with. Moments of wonder and awe and joy, though, in real life always end up giving way to exasperation and frustration, right? You come home from vacation, you find the basement flooded. Right? The weekend is over. Monday is here. Monday dawning tomorrow, right? Our lives go on. The flow of experience continues. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not all staying in one place, right? So if we're going to find the deepest presence and know our truest selves and deepen our experience of the divine, it's also got to be wherever we are at any given moment, not just in good times when everything feels full of light and goodness, right? Or the dark times when all we have left is the choice to hope. When all we have left is, if you're religious, the idea of, God, all I've got left is God, It's about being present to the ordinary, confining, demanding, and rarely dramatic days of our lives. The normal, trusting the ordinary, right? That's the first way that looking forms us and invites us to trust the ordinary. Trust the ordinary. And if we can trust the ordinary, if we can't trust the ordinary, the common moments of our lives, then we're going to miss the deep flow of sacred presence all around us that never leaves us. So trust the ordinary. That's the first thing that looking invites us into. The next part of looking then builds on that. It's where we foster an outlook where we expect to be surprised. We expect to be surprised. Trusting the ordinary means pressing beyond the self-imposed boundaries we've created or accepted about our lives, right? These conceptual boundaries alter our ability to see others and ourselves clearly. So trusting the ordinary lays us the foundation for us to have a posture of openness, right? Openness to everything. Openness to everything and to everyone. See? Judy says, I find trusting the ordinary reveals the ordinary really supernatural. One's real everyday life is really God's intimate conversation with us as individuals. Oh man, one's real everyday life is really God's intimate conversation with us as individuals. Man, I love that. Yes, trusting the ordinary, finding that it is there, that all that is sacred and abundant and divine is already there, right? Right? It's one thing, it's one thing for us to say, I only expect God to be found here or there at church or in the mass or at sunsets that are amazing or the mountain ranges, the laughter of children, the delight that I feel when my little dog gets the zoomies and starts running around, whatever it is, right? But it's a whole other thing to say that there are places and people that I believe there's no spirit there or no light there or no gifts to give, right? Right? When we shut down the ability to really be open to everyone and say, only these places are places where I can find, or I can find God in the ordinary. I can find truth and deepest presence in the ordinary. But when this person or this kind of situation comes into my ordinary, then no, it's never possible for me to discover gifts, presence, healing, transformation, right? But we do that. We shut down our ability to be possibly surprised, to let the complexity of life open us up and the complexity of people open us up to new possibilities, right? I mean, who's that person in your life right now, right? The person who's actually in your life, not the past situation that's done or whatever. Who's the person in your life right now that you think has nothing to offer? Is it a coworker, a boss, a neighbor, a family member? Is it you when you look in the mirror? Is that how you think of yourself? See, the experience of looking means leaving no stone unturned. It means believing that all of life is shot through with possibility for depth and healing and transformation and abundance and gifts. So we expect to be surprised. We find ourselves consciously stopping ourselves from shutting down and choosing openness. We trust the ordinary and we expect to be surprised. And then finally, out of that, we pursue the new. We pursue the new. The writer John Curvon says, it's very easy for us to think of the spiritual life as a recovery operation, like it's an archaeological dig into our childhoods to find and breathe new life into the dried up bones of an earlier and simpler time. Isn't that interesting? But as we've talked about, right, it's a temptation to reduce the mystery of life, of people, right, of ourselves, of God, of spirit, to the familiar, to only go where we've been, or to avoid the difficult truth that the spiritual quest will take us into the unknown and into the unknowable. So the experience of looking, this second dimension of your holy humanity, means accepting that the spiritual life is not retracing your steps. It's about venturing into new lands. It's about going along paths we've never walked, marked only by the footprints of the few others who might have dared to pursue something new, or not marked at all. Spiritual life is about blazing a trail for yourself to your truest, deepest self, the self you were meant to be, connected the ways that you were meant to be connected, that you know deep within your bones is for you, Judy says, as a child, the tale of Brer Rabbit made a big impression on me. Also, my mother planting onions around carrots to discourage the rabbits from looking there. But buried treasures that set us free are often buried precisely where we are discouraged. Don't expect it. Don't want to look. Yes, Buried treasures are often buried precisely where we are discouraged. Where we are discouraged, you know, the presence of ruins means the possibility of treasure, right? The presence of ruins, it means the possibility of treasure. The experience of looking opens us up beyond cheap options or counterfeit answers and invites us to be open to everything and everyone. So good. That's looking. That's looking. So today, let's end with me blessing you. And I want to bless you into the new with these words from John O'Donohue. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. And when the canvas frays in the little boat of your thoughts and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the oceans be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind, the wind of the Spirit, work these words of love around you like an invisible cloak to mind your life. Amen. Spiritual direction, Soul Care, it's so good to see you. It's so good to be together. I love that we're able to connect and explore these parts of our holy humanity together. Next time we meet, we'll start talking about the experience of home. And we'll be also maybe getting some wisdom from the spiritual teacher named Rumi as we explore the idea of home. I hope you have a great week.